Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, 1-2 Switch? How did we get here? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm also doing well.
I mean, we just ate pizza.
We just ate pizza.
So how bad could we be doing?
And let me recommend, I know this podcast comes out in the morning, like first thing, but you should eat some pizza.
Yeah, why not?
Like right now. Live your life, love your life, eat pizza.
Too short. Life's too short. Just eat pizza.
Life's too short not to eat pizza.
Unless a doctor has recommended you not eat pizza, in which case we do not endorse going. We don't, right? We don't endorse going against your doctor's recommendation.
That's right. My father has been recommended by his doctor. That's not how that sentence should be constructed. My father's doctor has recommended that he not eat ice cream anymore.
Oh, but good news for him. Pizza's still allowed.
Pizza is not ice cream. That's correct. That can be the end of my story about that. Weather report.
It's you know.
I do.
I'm gonna complain about it a little bit.
Okay, lay it on me.
Even though it's pleasant. Oh gosh, today was what, like 75 degrees outside?
And sunny.
Cold at night.
So
Even if you dress in layers, too hot during the day, what am I gonna do? Tie a hoodie around my waist?
Or like leave it in your car. You could leave it in your car.
I actually walk a lot of places in LA. I feel like I'm one of the few. Like a lot of what I need to do is just ride around
That's
my
true.
house.
You are very well located to go to a bunch of cool stuff without getting into a car.
So I generally walk a lot of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Work
keeping
up a
a
little
jacket,
bit of a sweat.
keeping a jacket in my
Mhm.
car not as convenient.
Right, because you'd have to walk back to your car. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So you're bothered about having to dress in layers?
Yeah. That's basically what it comes down to.
Good. I have no complaints about the weather.
Oh, well, good for you.
Thank you. Mark, what have you been playing?
Oh man, I finally finished Star Tropics.
Oh, you did?
I did. I finished it. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
The
I
end of
neglected other duties in my life so I could finish it and talk about it.
The end of that game is hard.
It's very hard.
There's like a weird difficulty spike in the last chapter.
I found it really difficult. I was even using a guide. And I feel like it's the same sort of thing. I mean, it happens a lot of times in games, but I feel like in retro games it happens a lot. I remember when I was younger and trying to beat Castlevania, where it's like, oh, I get to the end and I know what I'm supposed to do, but accomplishing that is sometimes very difficult.
Yeah, I think that is especially true of Star Tropics, not Star Fox, in that last chapter where the aliens come down.
Yeah.
Because some of those like dungeons are very difficult.
I think I settled on they're called caves.
Okay, sure.
Even though I don't know if they're all actually caves.
A lot of them are.
A lot of them are caves.
Overwhelmingly, they are
There's
caves.
a lot of caves involved. It's sometimes overwhelming.
Tell me, first of all, did you enjoy your experience?
Yeah, I did overall.
Mhm.
I think the further I got into it, I wasn't disappointed by the game by any means, but when we first started, I was super into it.
Yeah.
And I think by the end, I was a little less into it, but only because of like that difficulty spike you were talking about. And part of that is just because I'm old and I don't have as much time to like dedicate to games.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that sort of like difficulty, sometimes it's frustrating for me because it's like, come on, I just want to finish this so I can talk about it on my podcast. Right? Like at that point, it's not even about enjoyment. It's just like, I just got to finish. Like, it's not work, but
I'm
it's
on
pretty
assignment.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your favorite chapters in the game?
For me, it really was I like the ghost town a lot. I think the last time we talked about it, I was there.
Right, in chapter 3.
Yeah, chapter 3.
It's weird that that's the only island that's like that, right? Where there are a bunch of different towns and like 5 or 6 caves and
yeah, but that was for me. That was like the most fun part of it.
yeah.
Was how different it was
Hmm.
from the rest of the game. But I also really enjoyed uh and like yeah, like the later chapters are good, but again, some of it was just my mentality of like get through it, get through it, get
Right.
through it. At the beginning of the game I was enjoying myself more, and partly it was because I didn't know what to expect. I had
Hmm.
never played Star Tropics before and I didn't really know a ton about it. So it was fun to be in the world and like see like the clever references. I mean, not even clever, just the very blatant references to America.
Right.
Uh
Americola.
um but or and to see like they're trying to appeal to westerners
Yeah.
like very blatantly.
Hmm.
um so yeah, like the first part of the game up to I want to say maybe like chapter 4 I was super into, and I think part of it was just like my own mentality on the game
Yeah.
changed, and so I became a little more frustrated by some of the clunkier mechanics.
Hmm.
Overall I think it's a super fun game. I'm kind of interested in playing Zoda's Revenge. Were When we talked about it before, were you saying it's mechanically better but not as much fun?
That is my recollection of it. I've never actually beaten Zoda's Revenge. I think we've talked about this that it came really late in the NES's life cycle, so I don't have quite as much goodwill built up from playing it as an 8-year-old as I do original Star Tropics. But yeah, it is mechanically cleaned up instead of Mike moving on always one full square at a time and only ever north, south, east, or west. He can move diagonally and he can move like fractions of squares at a time, so you feel like you have a lot more control over him.
Yeah, so I think that would be interesting to me. But I don't. But from what I've seen online, it sounds like the game surrounding it is not as interesting or fun.
Yeah.
Like the world and like all that kind of stuff isn't it as fun.
Well, it's not as consistent. I think we've mentioned this before too, but it's a time travel game. So you spend some time in like the Ice Age. You spend some time, in like ancient Egypt and so on. There's like a Jack the Ripper and Sherlock Holmes section of the game, which is cool. But one of the things that's nice about Star Tropics is that unlike all other video games, it picks a setting and sticks to it. Like you are on these tropical islands. You never go to a lava level and a desert level.
So having not played Star Tropics 2, it sounds to me that it's kind of like a BioShock 2 experience.
Yeah, I would,
where
yeah.
like the BioShock 1, the original BioShock maybe had more. Could you imagine if that was its name? Or BioShock 1 colon the original
The
BioShock.
original BioShock.
Sounds to me like BioShock 1 colon the original BioShock, or not sounds to me. Oh man, I played BioShock.
That's right.
It's a great game,
Uh-huh.
but mechanically, it's not as refined as BioShock 2. Whereas BioShock 2, I feel like the story and the atmosphere wasn't as interesting, and maybe that was because we had seen a lot of it before. I also thought it was just like more muddled storytelling.
Yes.
But mechanically, it's so much better, and it sounds like it's possibly a similar thing with Star Tropics.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is it. I don't know. I think it would be hard for there to be a so late in the NES life cycle. You know what I mean? Like, it would be weird for a game to come out of that era as an amazing gameplay experience, just a total package. So like it's not surprising that it doesn't grab people, and it didn't grab me as much either.
How about you? What have you been playing, Patrick?
So I've been playing a little bit of Fire Emblem Heroes.
I gave up.
You gave up completely. It's still just I'll play for half an hour here, half an hour there. It's not quite as like pick up and put down as I want it to be. Like I was content when I was playing Super Mario Run to pick it up and do one thing of Toad Rally, gain or lose some toads, and then put it down again. And Fire Emblem, like if I do one of those, I'm like, I don't really feel like I did anything. So yeah, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna play it either. But so I've been playing a little bit of that, and I started playing the Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, because I downloaded both it and Oracle of Ages is the other one, on my 3DS. I don't even remember when, months ago, and have not played them at all. And my laundry machines were broken over the weekend. So I went to the laundromat and I was like, I need something to do while I'm at the laundromat. And so I played Oracle of Seasons, which is fun. I think I had played one of these games when they came out. But it's amazing to me how much it's basically like Link's Awakening with just like different items and in a different place with different characters.
These are developed by Capcom, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I know if you complete both of these games, there's like another dungeon that you can play, or maybe a set of dungeons. I'm not exactly sure what it is. So I don't know. I feel like that's a nice like slow burn, long term goal that I can have. I got through the first dungeon in Oracle of Seasons, and the dungeons seem of manageable size. And I don't know, the game is cute and quirky, and I don't know. I'm enjoying it so far. I look forward to getting back to it.
And for both of us, the nightmare is over.
Yes, the nightmare, which we had to fight twice. Metroid Other M is done. We will be talking to you about it for the last time, period, on Thursday. So you can look forward to that episode. Mark, what did we think of the end of Metroid Other M?
Oof.
Oof is right. Well, great. Mark, let's get into the news.
Switch players will have access to a Splatoon 2 Testfire event from March 24th to March 26th.
Yay for something cool to do with the Switch in the first month, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't have a Wii, so you had not experienced a Splatoon Testfire before, right?
That's right.
I have gotten involved in Splatoon Testfire.
Is it just a beta? Is that?
It's but it's clearly Nintendo doing like stress testing for it, because it's only available for an hour at a time. And we have those dates and times. Let's just go through them now. So all these times are Pacific time.
I feel like we should just have people Google it if they're interested.
All right, fine. Look it up.
I don't know. It just seems like...
No, that's fine. However Mark wants to do it.
Well, do you think somebody's going to like take a pencil and pen and write all these down?
Yeah, I do. Noon, 8, 4 a.m., noon, 8, 4 a.m. is how it works. But it's fun. There's something very exciting about like people hopping on and having 1 hour of Splatoon, and then like Twitter just sort of blowing up with people talking about it. It was a cool experience last time. I think it's going to be even more exciting this time.
Definitely, because before, when they did the Testfire, the game hadn't come out yet, right?
That's right. Yeah, there was no Splatoon out in the world, and so that was like our first taste of it.
But now you have like a real community around it.
There's a real community, and I think people that like are going to have the Switch, and I mean at this point, by the 24th, like maybe you finished Zelda, like 3 weeks, maybe you finished Zelda. And even if you haven't, you've been playing Zelda for 3 weeks. It's like something to do with it, and something cool that you can't do anywhere else. So yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see like how the game is different. I'm excited to see what maps they let you play, and
do you think you'll be able to test local multiplayer during this time, or is it it'll just strictly be the online stuff?
I would
right?
guess it would just be the online, yeah. And it'll just be one game mode, and there won't be any like customization features. Like it's basically just how to get people in and play a match you up with 3 other people and play against another team of 4 as quickly as possible. So yeah, I'm really excited about this, and I'm gonna try to get in on. I'll probably get on twice during this time, if I can. Are you gonna hop on it?
Yeah, I think I will check it out. I've only played a little bit of Splatoon because I didn't own a Wii U, and it's fun. But I'm excited to. Obviously, this won't be the opportunity, but I'm excited to like do more of it.
Yeah,
and this will just be fun to jump in and try a few matches and see how it works on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And not on the Wii U, but on the Switch.
Right. Wait,
BioShock 1,
right?
the original,
the original BioShock. And Splatoon 2 for the Wii U, not on the Wii U, the Switch.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's a new Netflix animated series written by Warren Ellis that's based on the Castlevania game series, and the first part of it will be released sometime in 2017.
So that's kind of weird, right?
So the first thing when I saw this was just like, oh brother, I hope it's not grimdark.
Right.
The second thing I saw was that it was written by Warren Ellis, who I'm a big fan of.
Right.
So I was like, oh,
he's
this
a great
is
writer.
really interesting.
Writes a lot of comics that we like.
Big Castlevania fan, apparently.
Evidently.
Third thing I saw was that it's being produced by the guy who directed that Power Rangers short film.
That like Power/Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who really wants to make a I don't even know what you'd call it, like adult version of Power Rangers. Like wants to make like a dark and gritty Power Rangers.
Sure. No.
Go Power Rangers.
Go Power. Yeah, sounds dumb.
Yeah, so he's the producer on this Castlevania series, and his quote is like, it's like gonna be R-rated as a word we don't say on this podcast that begins with an F, and this is going to be the best effing video game adaptation we've had to date. You can just hear the electric guitars in the background and like, yeah, and that is a huge I think it was also compared to like Game of Thrones, and that's a bridge that's pretty far for me.
Oh yeah.
I'm willing to check it out, but because I like Warren Ellis. If Warren Ellis was not involved, I would not come anywhere near this garbage can.
Yeah, I mean, I think Warren Ellis is enough to convince me that there might be, like, even if it is all like super tough, dark, whatever, that he's gonna put some like intelligence or like some real substance behind all that idiot posturing. But also, like, that kind of idiot posturing is at least kind of consistent with what Castlevania is, right? Like, it's a monster mashup vampire slayer.
I would say sight unseen, because again, Warren Ellis, so I'm giving it a lot of leeway.
Right.
But sight unseen, this sounds like it doesn't have much of a sense of humor about itself. And I would say originally Castlevania, I mean, it had like Frankenstein's monster with...
whose name is, of course, Frankenstein.
with Dracula. I mean, like, I
yeah,
think
that's true.
It was more a genre send up initially.
Yeah.
I mean, now who even knows what Castlevania is?
Well, I mean, I think Castlevania is one of those series that disappeared up its own butt by like trying to craft a consistent narrative of like, here are the Belmont family.
Yeah, it's a big old bag of who cares.
Yeah, big old bag of, look, if you want to name Dracula's son Dracula backwards, which is what Alucard is just Dracula backwards, fine, you can do that, but it's stupid.
So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll definitely check it out.
Oh yeah, I mean, it also sounds like it is a weird. It's like a mini series, right?
Yeah, or
it's not totally clear to me what it is.
It sounds like they are. So I think like season is like a contractual term.
Yes.
Right. And so I think they're going to be releasing this first season in multiple parts.
Yeah.
And at least the first one is going to be released in 2017. It's like the Get Down, that hip hop that came out last year. Mm-hmm. It was season 1 part 1, and season 1 part 2 has yet to be released.
I see. Netflix is changing the game.
Oh, also I did say animated. It's an animated series.
Yeah.
So it'll also be like, what does this look like? Right? Is it going to be anime influenced? Is it going to be
have you watched any of the like Netflix anime stuff, like the Voltron or
No,
I don't
haven't.
like the way it looks.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as with any animated stuff, it really just depends on like the style behind it,
mm-hmm.
In the studio, and honestly like the budget that they're given.
Right.
I don't know that we've seen anything from, like I think the only thing we know about it came from an earnings call or something.
Yeah.
And then people tweeting about it afterwards.
And then
So-
this guy swearing a lot about that. this show
about
that he's
how
making.
awesome it's gonna be.
So cool.
Castlevania. So what appears to be a complete like system documentation from a Switch dev kit from July 2016 appeared online. I think it leaked on Reddit and then quickly spread through the internet. And a few people have come forward saying it's accurate. There doesn't. The most interesting thing in there to me was the there were lots of like slides with the UI
Oh, okay.
in it, so it gave you, and it looks very clean. I mean, it basically looks like what we have.
What we've seen
What
with
we've
like
seen.
large tiles.
Yeah, like tiles seem to play a really big part in it. There's a lot of technical specifications that mean nothing to me.
Right.
So you can, and from the reaction that I'm gathering online, it pretty much seems, or gathering online, it seems pretty much in line with what we were
Yeah.
hearing before, what we were expecting. There wasn't any bombshell in there.
No big surprises.
No
in
big
there.
surprises. But if you are more technically knowledgeable than me and you haven't seen it, it might be worth Googling.
Right. And what's the likelihood that someone is more technically knowledgeable than you?
Oh geez. I mean, about this specifically?
Just in general.
Oh, pretty high.
Pretty high, like 70%.
I mean, I'm kind of an idiot.
But there are a lot of old people too. So.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, if you need like a Wi-Fi password typed in, hit me up.
Oh yeah, Mark can do it.
Game Explain released an almost 90-minute YouTube video. It's analyzing Super Mario Odyssey footage.
Okay, so you mentioned this to me before we started recording. Is it just the footage from the the Switch event?
So they supplement it with like screenshots and things that have been released afterwards. But
Okay.
yeah, primarily it is. And I'm not familiar with Game Explain, but I saw this being shared around online. And when I saw that it was 90 minutes, I thought it was a joke. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be garbage."
Game Explain does some pretty good like long video.
I checked it out. It's
Yeah.
like I haven't finished it yet. I'm maybe like 30 or to 40 minutes in, but it's actually really interesting.
What did you learn
So
about?
I mean, it's
Mario
basically
Odyssey?
I don't even know that I necessarily learned anything again like groundbreaking or earth shattering,
Uh-huh.
but they just noticed a lot of the details in the world that I had never really paid attention to,
Yeah.
and like tied it all together, and then made some guesses about how like the mechanics might work. Like the part that I was watching was like New Donk City,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about how like the donk probably is related to Donkey Kong because there's so much Donkey Kong reference
Mhm.
in the world, and then how
There's like a sign that says like Dixie
Yeah,
Street
there's,
or
like-
something like that.
I mean, I think Dixie, Trixie, Diddy, like all of them are who's the Candy, I think, is also
Candy
referenced.
Kong.
Like there's a lot of like
Right.
Kong's referenced.
Also, some Nintendo developer confirmed that Paulina, whatever, however you say her name, the mistress. That's not right. Geez, the woman that Mario is trying to save
Uh-huh.
in Donkey Kong and has appeared in other Nintendo games since then is a resident of New Donk City.
Okay. Oh, so then there you go. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they also showed how it's like raised the part that we see Mario running around on is like appears to be floating, like it's off the ground in the clouds, and it's actually a smaller just like square, and the streets just like end. So it appears to be some sort of like there's a reason
floating
why it's like
island?
floating. And just like things I didn't notice, like the tanks that are firing at Mario, like they're wearing like party hats, and so it seems to be related to Bowser and Peach's wedding.
Oh yeah,
And
cool.
and things like the hat shops, the doors being open on like this one building during the day but are closed at night, just like things like that where you're like, oh, we actually know a little bit or can surmise more about this game than I had noticed. I've really been enjoying it. Again, I'm only like halfway through, so they just barely started talking about the like Dia de los Muertes section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I noticed that there's a day-night cycle in this. And is there
I don't know if it's a cycle or if it's one of those things like when you come back
sure.
to it, it's like
Right.
night one time.
or like you
and-
can hit a switch and it goes from day to night or something.
Right, because we do know from interviews that it's going to be like Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy, where you visit the same open areas multiple times to do different objectives instead of having to be linear. So it's possible you come back one time and it's night.
Yeah. I always liked that about 64, that like you would go into a level and depending on which objective you picked, the level changed like just a little bit. Yeah, sometimes there would be a floating island in the sky or whatever. Yeah, that's cool to think that could be one of those things that changes. It's like, oh, and now it's nighttime, which means the hat shop is closed or whatever.
In an interview with Game Informer, Shigeru Miyamoto said that Link's last name is Link.
So there we go.
So is he Link, or is it just like a Madonna situation where his name is just Link?
No, I think it's Link.
I like how they just like mess with us.
Yeah, they just say things.
Yeah, because
It'd
it's
be
like, who cares?
Who's Bowser Jr.'s mother? Shigeru Miyamoto. Do you remember that? A couple, like maybe a year or so ago, he claimed that he was Bowser Jr.'s mother.
Yeah, I love it because it's just like again, it's not like mean.
Right. But the
It's
real
just
answer is who
playful.
cares?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a playful way to be like, I don't know. We've never thought about it because we don't think about this stuff. It's like right now there's some videos being like, Aonuma is like teasing where Breath of the Wild is placed in the Zelda timeline, right?
Right.
And it's just like the greater answer is they don't care.
Right. The greater answer is they're borrowing elements from all of these games because that's what we like. We like to see. That's how we know it's a Zelda, right? And where it exists in a timeline. Like, come on, they already split the timeline in 3.
The timeline's totally arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
totally
purely
arbitrary.
because people were trying to like figure it out, and so
Right.
they were just kind of like, all right.
Pushing up their glasses and trying to figure it out. I push up my glasses all the time.
Yeah, oh, you're a total nerd.
I'm a total nerd. No, but also my glasses slide down my face. I push them up a lot, probably too much. The one thing that I thought was interesting to note about this is when they were working on the original Zelda, they were referring to Link as Adventure Mario. So perhaps Link is an upgrade from Adventure Mario.
Link Adventure Mario Link. Do you think that's
Link,
his full name?
Link : Adventure Mario dash
The
Link.
The Link 1.
Yes. : Adventure Mario Link. That's his full name. Mark, do we have any new releases this week?
Yes. February 16th, which is Thursday, Tank Troopers comes out on 3DS. It's a Nintendo game.
Yeah, I saw you watching the trailer before we started recording.
6-person tank battles. And it has download play. Basically, there are different tanks and different like tank drivers, the troopers, and they
recruits.
No, they are actually called troopers.
Okay.
I can confirm.
All right, good.
And they all have different like style and ability, and so it's not all just like trying to blow each other up. One of the tanks has paintballs, so you can block the screen of other people.
Oh, so it like you're actually driving the tank. I was imagining like a board game kind of like.
Oh no!
Fire
So you're
Emblem or
driving
Advance
the
Wars.
tank. Yeah, it seems to be that you're kind of just maneuvering around in first person on like the battlefield, and other people are maneuvering around as well, and you're trying to take down.
Weird.
They can be up to 6 people. So
Yeah. Do we know if that's a full like retail release or?
I don't actually know what the price on it is. I'm gonna hazard a guess.
Let's do it, man.
And say
Let's live our lives.
and say $20.
All right, well, cool. Nothing really else of note coming out this week. We're heading into, Switch time. It's 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away. So it's not really a surprise that we don't have any new releases, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost a little bit weird that there's anything coming out. Like, why would you want to put out a game right now, knowing that people like you and I are tenting our fingers, tapping them arrhythmically, waiting for the Switch?
I know you've been trying to like buy time, but I genuinely can't find the price.
That's
so.
okay. That's okay. I was doing a really bad really bad job of buying time. All right, let's get out of the news. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. For the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Today we are talking about Valentine's Day. Because it is Valentine's Day at the time that you are listening to this, because of course you download the episode the day it comes out, you listen to it, you rate, subscribe, share with your friends. Mark, do you have any great Valentine's Day memories?
No.
Or crummy ones?
No.
No? Is Valentine's Day a holiday you opt out of?
No, I depending on my life situation, will participate in Valentine's Day. I don't know. I feel like Valentine's Day for me has always been like St. Patrick's Day or like Arbor Day, where you can celebrate it if you want to, but if
How do you celebrate Arbor Day?
By planting a tree, you monster.
What? And what do you do for the other 23 hours and 45 minutes?
Nothing. You're done.
Oh, okay.
You've celebrated.
You've fulfilled the Arbor Day contract. Because if you're going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, right? That's like your whole afternoon/evening.
Well, only if you imbibe.
Yeah, I mean, how else do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know either.
But what?
Sorry. So you're saying that?
I mean, my point is only that like
it's a day on the calendar.
I feel like it's like harmless.
Sure.
Right? Like if you, if you have, if you want to celebrate Valentine's Day, you totally can. But if you don't, it's not like you're missing out on some great social experience.
Do you remember Valentine's Days as a kid, like having to make Valentines for everyone in the class?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever made Valentines. I think we always...
Yeah, I guess you bought a pack of Spider-Man Valentines and wrote all of your...
I don't even think like something like that. Like normally we would just get I Love Nerds, the candy. The people are disgusting, but...
Hey!
What?
You called me a nerd like 12 minutes ago.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, all right.
We would just get like the candies and they have a to from on them. And I would just put that in. I don't remember getting I remember making the boxes more than anything.
Right.
The mail boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way for like a second grade teacher to waste a couple hours.
Right, to kill a whole day on Valentine's Day. Well, maybe that's just what I'm thinking of as like the thing that takes a lot of time. 'Cause like going out for Valentine's Day is dumb, right? Like, first of all, it's a Tuesday this year. So like Tuesday.
We sound so old.
Well, but like, do young people do like oh, we do sound old. So I remember when I was young, when I was in high school, the girl that I was interested in dating, we had like a thing going towards the end of January, and I was like, I'm gonna wait to like actually ask her out until Valentine's Day, right? Because I don't know, I was into like the formal structure of like, now it is Valentine's Day, and I dated her for like on and off for like 4 years. So like Valentine's Day for us was like, that was like an anniversary as well. So when I was younger, that was like Valentine's Day was a bigger deal for me. And now I'm like, oh, that love doesn't exist anymore. So forget Valentine's Day. That belonged to a different version of me and a different relationship.
So you have an antagonistic relationship with Valentine, is what I'm picking up right now.
I mean, it's not so much antagonistic as it is apathetic.
Is Valentine's Day like, okay, so I will occasionally listen to an album or a song or something that takes me to a very specific time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Is Valentine's Day that for you? We'll never know.
I guess we will never know what Valentine's Day is for me. Today we were accompanied by the Austin Civic Orchestra. So Thank you, Austin Civic Orchestra. Mark, are you ready to go into our topic of the week?
Let's do it.
Let's do it! Our transition music isn't quite as tough as we were making it out to be. Mark, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about with 1-2 Switch on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about how we got here.
Yeah.
Right? Like 1-2 Switch is, I would say,
Bizarre.
in like a loose series of games
Uh-huh.
that Nintendo has done where they're like mini game system sellers or just mini game collections.
Right. And for a lot of these things, they are they're mini games based around whatever the hardware can do that is unique or has like some sort of special input. That's not always the case for these things.
I feel like that's what it became later.
Sure.
But the first series that we have on here to talk about is Mario Party.
Yeah, well, and I would even argue that Mario Party fits into that that tradition nicely. Like
Because of the analog stick on the
yeah.
N64 controller?
Yeah, so there were a lot of the way Mario Party works, if you've never played a Mario Party, it's like a board game where you and your friends all have little pieces. You move around the board, and at the end of every round, you play a mini game, a random mini game against each other. Whoever wins gets a star or something. And a lot of these games are like tap the button as quickly as you can, or in the case of the analog stick, which remember was new on the Nintendo 64, it was rotated as fast as you can. And the one of the problems with the original Mario Party was that it was injuring people because they're playing it too hard or too fast. Did you ever do this, Mark, where you would put your palm on the stick and just like spin it around? Because you can get it going faster if you're pressing your palm into the face of the controller than if you're doing it with your thumb. Because I guess like wrists are faster than thumbs. But like you could wear through the skin in your I've played this game with people who end up bleeding from the palm.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Are you sure they weren't just getting stigmata?
They were just if they were getting the stigmata, the wounds would have been in their wrists.
Great point.
Yep.
Great point.
Right. And although one time one of my friends did have the wound of the spear, the one in his side that killed him.
From playing Mario Party?
Yeah. I mean, no, it was the stigmata. But yeah, so they actually toned that down from Mario Party 1 to Mario Party 2. There was not a return of just rotating the analog stick around. But so that's one of the and Mario Party it existed in the first place because the Nintendo 64 had 4 controller ports. Is the first system to do that. And was the first home console that let you play with 4 people at one time. So I feel like these kinds of experiments or minigame collections are very hardware specific. And maybe that's less true of some of like the Game Boy games we'll discuss later, but hardware and minigame collections seem to be pretty closely married.
And it makes sense, right? Because Nintendo, especially Nintendo more than any other video game company has opted for interesting, unique, or new input methods.
Yeah.
Right? And so
yeah, I mean everyone else kind of saw the Super Nintendo controller and has been making incremental improvements to it for 30 years.
And now we kind of expect, when Switch was announced, we even talked about it. We're like, oh, what is the minigame collection going to be? And we're almost like callous about it, where it's just like, ugh. But it actually,
because we called it like, what's the Wii Sports gonna be, right?
Right.
And it's easy now to be callous about Wii Sports.
But it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective to be like, hey, here's a game that shows off this unique input system or this unique whatever that our company came up with. That's it.
Oh, okay.
It makes a lot of sense, even though we take it for granted.
Well, and especially because like you have to think that a lot of these like little mini games are being developed just as like proof of concept internally, and that a lot of other studios, a lot of other publishers are never going to show us these things, right? That they're a game from Mario Party 4 is would have just died somewhere in on a developer station because there's no real marketable way to put that out into the world. But if you package it with, a coat of Mario paint, not Mario paint, but paint like Mario, and
And you bundle it with,
yes,
like 25 other tech demos, basically.
right, then it becomes a complete package. So, Mark, do you have? Let's just talk about Mario Party and like if it means if the series means anything to you, or like our experiences with Mario Party.
I never played a lot of Mario Party. The one actually that I played the most of was, I think it was 8 on Wii. And
I think yeah. So the breakdown here is the first three Mario Party games were on Nintendo 64. 4, 5, 6, and 7 were on GameCube. 8 and 9 were on Wii, and 10 was on Wii U. So first of all, that's 10 mainline Mario Party games.
yeah, that's not counting any of the handheld spin-offs.
right. Right. There are
Not even really spin-offs, just like handheld games.
other games. Yeah, there is another six portable Mario Party games. But so you said you played the Wii one?
Yeah, I think it was 8 because forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was one of those games that kind of came from the GameCube and was put on Wii.
Oh,
so
sure.
I think it wasn't even in like widescreen. I think it did like the WarioWare Shake It, where it had the
oh yeah, like some kind of graphics
on the side. And I think it sold incredibly well because it was on the Wii and it was a party game, mini game collection type thing. But I think it's resoundingly considered one of the worst.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think conventional wisdom says that one of the first 3 Mario Party games on Nintendo 64 is the best one. I think people hold 2 in the highest regard. I played the first one, as previously mentioned, saw people get the stigmata playing it. But then I don't think I've played another one since. It's a little bit of a you've done it once and you don't really need to revisit it. Did you enjoy your time with 8 or?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I had played, like, we rented when I was younger, Mario Party, one of the Mario Parties on the N64.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I didn't really understand the idea of like spin-offs. So if it was like a Mario game, I was just kind of like, well, why isn't this a Mario game?
Right. Why can't I run
Yeah.
or jump?
And so I didn't enjoy it as much. And also I was playing it by myself.
Oh yeah.
So it just wasn't like super fun. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with 8. I do agree that it's probably one of those things where once you've played a Mario Party game, that you're not like, and now I need to pick up Mario Party 9.
Yeah, well, and especially because it seems like the Mario Party games have been getting more simple. And like the games are never really competitive because like it's got that sort of like everyone can win like rubber banding where like the game when you're behind you get extra lucky with what you roll, or sometimes the game will just be like, oh, you're in last place, you get 10 stars or whatever. So like if it's a game that like you're playing to win and not just playing to experience, like that's why it's as a single player game it doesn't make any sense. But if you're playing with 4 other people and they're going to be physically damaging their bodies to try to like play the game better, it can actually be a really good time. It's the last 2 Mario Party games that have come out have been on the 3DS, or maybe there were 2 on the 3DS and 1 on the Wii U, and they're all like panned. Like none of them review well, and they all seem like any of the board game or strategy elements are just like taken away in favor of just making you play mini games with your friends.
Do you think it had anything to do with the change in developers?
It's possible
That like because so Hudson developed them initially through 2007, and then ND Cube is the current developer.
Yeah, I mean it's through 2007, so just before the Wii. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. And then you develop two Wii games, two casual Wii games, and then you got that gig for life because they sold tens of millions of copies. Yeah. That could be it. So Mario Party is just kind of like the like easy first reaction to be like, this is Nintendo doing collections of mini games, but there are actually a handful of series that do this same thing. We mentioned Wii Sports, right? There's this whole line of basically Mii games that start taking advantage of the Wii motion controls, the Wii balance board, and eventually the Wii U gamepad, right? So I think this list is complete, but Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, Wii Play, Wii Fit, and Wii Fit Plus, and Nintendo Land, right?
Yeah.
So we all have experiences with Wii Sports, right? Like everyone in the world has played Wii Sports. That's why Nintendo still exists, is because we've all played Wii Sports. And I feel like Wii Sports is one of the while tennis and bowling are both like good and fun and like our actual games that you can play. The rest of that's kind of garbage, right?
Well, Wii Sports is an interesting experience because you open it up with the promise of what or in your head what you think Wii motion controls are going to be.
Yes.
And then because it comes packed in with the system, and you've seen it on the Today Show and all this stuff, the
Right.
first thing you put in is Wii Sports, and you do tennis, you do bowling, you get to golf, you get to baseball, you get to boxing, and you very quickly understand the limitations of the Wii motion controls.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason why tennis and bowling works so well is because what it requires of the Wiimote is actually very limited.
Right.
Boxing is my favorite example of just like
It just doesn't work.
unplayable,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, it really is it's a very surface level experience. Like if you try to understand Wii Sports on a deeper level, like you're only going to be disappointed in it. And I think that's probably true of all of these Mii games, right? I did not mention Wii Music.
Oh, yeah.
But I've also never played it, so I don't know that I can offer any insight into.
Yeah, I don't even know the structure of that game.
Yeah, me neither. I just know that did it even use the Motion Plus, or was it
No, it was before the Motion Plus came out.
Man, that's weird. That is weird, Mark. Yeah, do you have any other insight into these kind of Mii games, or did you ever play Wii Fit or own a balance board?
I never did. My parents did.
Yeah. Do you know if they used it, or is
I think they did a little bit, but they were not like trained to turn on the Wii, like in the sense that like, oh, they bought it and they thought it was interesting, but it never really became a integral part of their like life.
Yeah.
Because it was, in a different part of the house and you'd have to like turn, like it wasn't.
Yep. Well, and the balance board is also like big enough that you have to like keep it somewhere, and for the most part you're going to find a way to put it, and then it's just going to be there forever until you trick a GameStop into taking it with your old Guitar Hero guitars. But it's very interesting to me the way that all of these Mii games rely exclusively on the like motion and balance controls that were offered for the first time on the Wii. That you absolutely needed to play these things with motion controls, or they wouldn't exist, right? Like even if there was a way to patch in non-motion controls, they wouldn't make sense as games.
Yeah, they wouldn't really be enjoyable.
Yeah. And the Wii Fit especially, because that was all about like tilt your body this way or tilt your body this way, or don't let the penguin fall off the iceberg. Some of those games were pretty cool on Wii Fit.
Nintendo Land is an interesting one to me, going back to that idea of showcasing the system capabilities, where there's only 2 games I think in Nintendo Land that are any fun. It's Roast That Ghost,
right?
Like the Luigi's Mansion one. And the one like Mario Chase, I don't know what it's really called, but like where you like one person has the tablet and is trying to run away
Uh-huh.
from like 4 other people who are trying to catch them in this obstacle course.
Yeah.
And that one's really fun as well. And it like shows off the asynchronous
Mm-hmm.
like 2 screen
Multiplayer.
experience like really well. Um and then no other game ever was like managed to
Right.
find a fun or interesting way to really use that mechanic, including in Nintendo Land, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's tough. And the weird thing about Nintendo Land is that it's sort of a it's almost like a one of these Mii games meets Mario Party or Smash almost, because they use all of like the Nintendo IP in an interesting way, which is not something that you see in the rest of them, right? Like um Wii Sports Resort might have been more fun if like you could, do a long race against Waluigi or something,
Yeah, if it
right?
was on like Island Delfino or something.
Yeah, or if you're playing baseball and Birdo's the pitcher, like that could be fun. But they never really did that, except Nintendo Land is all like those Nintendo ideas, those Nintendo characters, mixed in with the Mii's. And I wonder why they. I mean, maybe they were just like, no, your mom just wants to see the me. She doesn't she doesn't want to be like, who's this fat weird Mario looking guy with a W on his hat?
Yeah.
It's Wario.
He's my favorite.
Wario's your favorite?
I think so.
Not Waluigi?
I mean, I relate more to Waluigi.
Wait, you relate more to Waluigi?
Absolutely.
But
I basically, like, physically, I am Waluigi.
I've often said this about you. Your mustache is enormous, and it has these jagged edges.
Carefully cultivated.
Carefully. I think that's a pretty good segue into the next series on our list, right? Which is the WarioWare series of games.
Yeah, so this is a little, like, WarioWare is a little different because up to this point it had been, like, well, no, I guess not really, because Mario Party is shorter mini games, but these are like these are super mini,
Right.
itty bitty.
I mean, they're even marketed as micro games. The original WarioWare on the Game Boy Advance is called WarioWare Incorporated Micro or Mega Micro Games, and the S in that is a $sign, and then there's an exclamation point. So where I think 1-2-Switch is probably ends up taking some cues from WarioWare is just in how weird it is. WarioWare, it'll make you play a game for 5 seconds, right? The first 2 seconds is just like orienting you in the spaces so you know what you're looking at, and then you have to do something in 3 seconds. And so the aesthetics of the game are just insane. There will be games where it's like pick this nose, or shave this bit of a person's face, or like smash this bug, or throw a rock through this lady's window, or whatever. And from what we've seen of 1-2-Switch, where it's like put the baby to bed, or milk the cow, they're all very, very strange. So I think that's where we're going to see a lot of that DNA is just in the weird choices. But like we were saying, they are like definitely micro games, right? That they come super fast, and a lot of just like sitting down to play is sort of a barrage of these micro games. Mark, do you is there a Wario Land or WarioWare game that you got some time in on?
The first one I played was Touched,
Mm-hmm.
the DS one, and I
Mhm.
feel like this is another example where it's generally not considered to be a great
Yeah.
WarioWare game, but it was my first one and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
The one I've put the most time into and the one I had the most fun playing because I could play with other people was Smooth Moves on the Wii.
I loved Smooth Moves. And again, I don't know if it's a well-regarded game or even a
I
good
think
game.
it is. I think it's considered one of the best WarioWare games.
I isn't is it Twisted, the one on GBA that
I think
has,
that one is considered the best.
so it's got an accelerometer in the cartridge, which is awesome. That they were doing motion control on the Game Boy Advance. Nintendo, what you doing, girl? Yeah, but so again, this is taking advantage of the very specific hardware that was, I mean, in one of these cases included in the cartridge, right? That they had this accelerometer in there.
Just the overall aesthetics of WarioWare, especially smooth moves,
Mm-hmm.
I find delightful.
Me too. And so I actually think that this is somewhere where 1-2-Switch is going to fall kind of a little bit short. That the WarioWare series has such interesting, colorful, fun characters in it that like I can enjoy watching the game because like I like seeing the characters and they're funny and they're cute. And like I see 9-volt and I'm like, oh, 9-volt there. I see like the weird little there's like a witch in there. I don't know. They're characters that I like and that I like seeing, and it looks like that's not part of 1-2-Switch.
I mean, Switch is, they straight up tell you, like, you can ignore the screen.
Yeah. It was super weird.
It's very much just like a party game. Honestly, I prefer that to the me aesthetic, which
Mhm.
I have never enjoyed.
Right. Yeah, the me aesthetic is too simple.
And ugly,
Yeah.
like kind of hideous.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like, what are those toys that they're like they've got a round bottom and like you can push them and they like kind of wobble around.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
That's not the full name. I think they're just
Weebles
called
wobble. Weebles wobble 1 : but they don't fall down. Parentheses Adventure Mario. Close parentheses.
The Reckoning.
Well, that's the sequel. It still is number 1. Yes. So what was your point, that they were moving away from that from the me aesthetic?
I'm just saying that anything to me is better than the me aesthetic, including no aesthetic, which is what 1-2-Switch seems to be aiming for.
Yeah, it does make me wish that they would have some of that WarioWare aesthetic. It's just so colorful and fun, and I don't know, in a game where you have 3 seconds to accomplish something, it's amazing what just like some colors and like some splashes of what appear to be ink can really guide you in that.
Have you played any of the Rhythm Heaven games?
I have not.
They're super fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have a really fun, unique aesthetic.
Yeah, it's very like anime-y or slightly anime.
Some of it is like there are different but some of it's more like bizarre.
Mhm.
Like there's just like these weird, like crudely drawn children type things that
Awesome.
will like sing, like it's very it's kind of scattered.
Yeah.
But it has its own unique aesthetic. Yeah, and I agree. I think I wish 1-2-Switch had a little more style, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see a little bit more style when like it actually comes out and see what the whole package is. But it should be noted that it's specifically made to be played without looking at the screen, which again I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around.
I mean, I like that idea. I like the
Mhm.
idea of it just being a party game, right? Especially because the Switch is so portable.
Yeah.
Just the idea that like, oh, hey, everybody like can come watch us and we can all play this game, and what's happening on the screen isn't very important. So it doesn't
Right.
matter if you don't have a good view. It doesn't matter. We're not all trying to crowd around this 7-inch screen.
Right.
We're just playing a game like with each other, and the medium we're doing it happens to be this software.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. And I hope it ends up being as engaging and fun as like the good titles on this. Like it's weird, right? Because we've talked about 3 series now and have maybe identified like 3 or 4 games that we actually like in it.
The problem with these games is that they feel throwaway,
Yeah.
right? Like they feel like even Mario Party
Mm-hmm.
feels just like it's a cash grab basically,
Yeah.
right? Especially when you get
Mhm.
into like Mario Party 14 and they're not super well regarded anymore,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, why do they keep making these?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like any new Mario Party game, any new WarioWare game could be great.
Totally.
Like they all have the capacity to like be an amazing game. And we just won't know until they're out.
Are there any? I'm like, I guess Connect Sports. I'm trying to think of other companies who have done this same sort of thing, and it feels like the only time they do it is when,
They put it out on the Wii.
or when they need like a like a Wii Sports type thing. Again, like when they're trying to show off their new
Right, show
tech.
off the new, yeah, and especially when there is. So what's the PSVR equivalent? Is there one? I mean, I know it comes with like a disc of like sample software, but I don't think they're unified by like under a single umbrella.
Yeah, I don't know. VR feels different to me because all of these are like, for the most part, games that you want to play with other people. You can play them by yourselves,
Great point.
but and VR isn't really conducive for that.
Right, VR is a very solitary experience. That's true. But yeah, other than that, like Connect Sport, a lot of Connect games, right? There was like Star Wars Connect is also very much like that.
Was it a minigame collection?
Yeah, I mean, it may have only been like 5 games or something, but like there was a dance game in there. Was that actually all that it was? Was a dance game?
Or was that a bonus thing that was part of the rhythm or dance? What was the dance
Just
game?
Dance?
No. It was a Just Dance equivalent for Connect, but like it did like full motion. I can't remember what it's called now. I think
Yeah, I
Harmonix
hear ya.
developed it. I don't know if it was its own, if the Star Wars thing was its own game, or if it was just like a fun thing they did for that. We'll never know because this is not an Xbox podcast.
Right, and we'll never look it
up. Don't care.
Yep, just don't care. So here's one thing that I do think Nintendo minigame collection. This is one series that I think we do need to acknowledge as like way better than the rest of these is NES Remix. Volumes 1 and 2 and Ultimate Remix Collection, whatever it's called, on the 3DS, which takes just a couple seconds of gameplay from various old NES games and either just makes you perform them or makes you perform them within certain parameters or remixes them entirely so that you're like, Princess Peach running around Zelda 2 or something. I love these games. They're so good. They're so fun. And they're perfect to play like 5 minutes or like to just play an hour and like try to max out your scores on these things. Have you ever played one?
No. What's the actual mechanic of the game? Like, do you open up the game and then select like a challenge or a game you want to play, or like how does it work?
So it opens up there's like a row of TV screens, each one representing a different game in a different Nintendo game. And then like just it's a kind of a drop down from there of like challenge here, challenge here, challenge here. And as soon as you finish one, you can just say like continue to move on to the next one. And you're going for either doing it quickly or getting as many points or coins or whatever as they're like challenging you to do. And you get a star rating. And the whole thing is you earn points to collect more stamps. And it all has this I don't know, the audio cues in it are really good so that like as your points are going up it's like and you hear that like little bit of like clapping.
Are we talking like 30-second segments or like 5 minutes or
no, like closer to 30 seconds. Yeah. And it will mix it up so that sometimes it'll be like Super Mario Brothers beat World 1 or World 5-1. And then the next one it'll be like kill the Hammer Brother. So the one will be like longer than another one. It'll just be like a single thing, and it'll be like ding, 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 and then you move on to the next one. And just like the way it shuffles up these challenges is really neat. And there are I forget, they're called like either bonus or there's something where they start really remixing stuff, and so there'll be like a series of challenges that are like 6 different challenges, one from 6 different games. So it'll be like defeat the Moblin, and you have to do that as Link in The Legend of Zelda. And then the next one is, from Clu Clu Land, and then you have to do something from Dr. Mario, and then you have to. It's really neat, and like the way the game trains you to like play just a specific difficult part of a classic Nintendo game is really fun. And I found myself like relying on some of that knowledge while playing the Nintendo Classic Edition, the NES Classic Edition, being like, oh, I remember how to beat this boss from Zelda 2. Not just because I did it a million times when I was a child, but because I learned how to do it in 14 seconds playing NES Remix.
That does sound really cool.
They're super fun, and the collection, which has both Volume 1 and Volume 2, is available on 3DS, so it's not something that's going to be orphaned on the Wii U. But I don't expect 1-2 Switch to be quite as addictive and cool as that. And again, this also isn't something that shows off the power of the hardware at all.
I mean, it's also, and I think you'd agree, like, unfair to compare 1-2 Switch to it because it doesn't have the built-in nostalgia
of course not,
of having like played these games a million times before as well.
Yeah, well, I do think that NES Remix does a good job of like knowing what's valuable about its nostalgia and not just like representing it, but presenting it in like a fun, fast way.
Are there any games included that got like remixed in NES Remix that you hadn't played and were like, oh, I should check this out?
Sure. Ice Climbers I'd never played before. And it's Ice Climber, sorry. No, Mark, don't hurt me. I corrected myself. Mark. I'd never played Clue Clue Land before. That didn't change my mind on it. I'm not like, oh, Clue Clue Land. Cool.
Love that game.
Clue Clue Land, man. Game's so cool. It's the first time I'd ever really played like Punch Out in a meaningful way. I had messed with it as a kid, but like the game actually setting up, being like, counter this punch, dodge this punch and then counter it. So Punch Out's probably the biggest example. Oh, also Kid Icarus was one that I didn't really get into until NES Remix was like, no, here are the highlights of the game. Now go through it and play it if you want to.
That's cool.
Yeah. You have any other thoughts about how we got to where we are with 1-2 Switch? Did we answer that question? How did we get here?
I think so. I think you can draw a direct through line from Mario Party to the Mii games, through with a little detour in WarioWare, and wrapping back down into the NES Remix. And here we are on 1-2 Switch.
1-2 Switch. Cool. Mark, let's move out of the topic. Okay, so this is normally the part in the show where we would take a reader's listener.
But I got to get out of here.
Oh, Mark's got to get out of here. So we are not going to read any questions. But if you would like to pose some questions to us for future episodes, you can always send those to what is our address? Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
And if you want to correct us on anything except about that Connect Star Wars game, we don't want to. Don't you dare!
I couldn't care less.
Do not send us information.
If you've already written that email out, delete it. Don't even send it to draft.
Delete it, right? And never send us an email.
Right to the trash can. We're putting spam filters in for the word Star Wars, so don't try to send us about The Last Jedi either. Too late.
Man, what a bummer. I really want to engage with those emails.
I mean,
but,
our Star Wars newsletter we're never going to get. You did this.
Yes, you did this. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at NinCart Society, or check out the Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you have a second, we would love for you to rate, review, and what's the other thing you can do? Subscribe to us on iTunes. And you can check out other What's a Creative Podcast Network podcasts. Good Lord. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we write about comic books on retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can find more of 8-Bit Betty's music on 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For Mark Mitchell, I'm Patrick Ellers saying this has been Nintendo Cartridge Society 1, the first Nintendo Cartridge Society, The Vengeancing. And thanks for listening.
What's That's a Creative Podcast Network.